Who's the Sagway?
Well, good afternoon or good evening. Tansin Wago Magantig, Vernon Lewis and Siga Sun. And thank you very much to the Seventh Generation Podcast Studio for allowing us to use their production suite. And in the studio this morning, we have Kim, Clinton, Leon, and Janice Makokis, who are here from Treaty Governance to and more specifically too as well to talk about the Fort Pitt Treaty Gathering that's going to be coming up and all the planning that is going to be taking place. And let's just jump into introductions for the time being, and we'll go with Kim. Kim, how are you doing? Let's see here. We can punch you up. There you are.
Hi, I'm doing good. Nervous.
Nervous?
I'm Kim Carter. I work at Treaty Governance as a researcher / policy analyst.
Cool.
Yeah.
Clinton.
Hello, everybody. My name is Clinton Mason.
Look closer to your microphone, please.
Hello, everybody. My name is Clinton Mason. I'm a Honey Lake band member. I also work with Treaty Governance as kind of like a researcher, analyst, tech. So I'm happy to be here talking about the treaties.
Right on. And Mr. Leon Whitstone, Danse.
Good morning, everybody. I'm a interim manager for Treaty Governance, and we do a lot of work. And it's we have an excellent team here that we developed, and we work together. We do the same mindset and concept of what we're going to be talking about. So I hope you enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leon. We have our legal, our lawyer, our friend. Good morning, Janice Makokis. How are you doing?
Danse, good morning, Vern, everybody. Thank you for listening and joining us this morning. Janice Makokis, Netsiga-san. I'm from Saddle Lake, but I always say that I'm at the heart an Onion Laker.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the interim director for the Treaty Law Department, and I'm here with the awesome, amazing Treaty Governance team that we have in our department.
Right on. And this is again, we're getting close to the anniversary for Fort Pitt, and I think that's next year. Is that 130 or 150? 150 years, right? And this is going to be this treaty gathering that's coming up, but that's what we're going to be talking about for this podcast episode. So who's going to take the lead and tell us about the upcoming treaty gathering that's coming up? Leon?
I'll start.
Okay.
So just for folks that are listening in, the Treaty Governance Office within Onion Lake has always been tasked, to my knowledge, as long as I've worked there, to be the organizer host of the Treaty 6 gathering. And it's an opportunity for treaty peoples, treaty leadership, elders from within the Treaty 6 area, both in Alberta, Saskatchewan, to come together and to listen to elders, knowledge keepers, experts, to talk about various issues that we are currently dealing with that impact our treaties. And I'm really excited for the gathering this year and for the lineup of speakers and guests that we've invited. And we've tried to expand the scope of the gathering this year in anticipation of next year's 150th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
So we're planning on some new things that I don't think have existed in previous gatherings. We're having vendors, we're having some teepees with activities, and we've invited speakers from the Treaties 1 to 11 gathering to come and give an update. And this week there's an NRTA summit happening in Prince Albert, and we're having a speaker come from that group and that meeting to come and give updates on some of that. And we have like a number of other areas of issues that we are going to be talking about that we feel are at the front of the current threats from government that we need and we want people to be aware and mindful of, so that people are able to take that information that they hear at the gathering back to their home fires, their communities, and share it with their leadership and people to be able to plan to do the treaty protection advocacy within their home communities.
Mhm. Just you mentioned treaties 1 through 11 and treaties 1 through 11, and that just was recent. What would be the difference then when we talk about treaties 1 through 11, and all these different types of meetings? The difference between that and treaty 6 and Fort Pitt, is there not much of a difference, or other than having the other treaty nations, treaties like Treaty 11 and stuff like that, and their involvement in their what would you call it, the hardships that they experience too when it comes to treaties? Is that stuff that is being discussed at treaties 11, 1 through 11?
I'm going to ask my colleagues who attended the treaties 1 to 11 last week to maybe provide some insight and comments on what they observed and experienced last week, because I think there's a difference in attending treaties 1 to 11 gatherings, and then there's our gathering, which is more focused on treaty 6. Not that it excludes other treaty areas, because we do have leadership and people that are part of our relationships and alliances that are from other treaty areas that come and attend. So I'll just defer to my colleagues if they want to provide some input and insight into what they observed last week, and then your experience in being involved in the Treaty 6 gathering within Onion Lake.
All right, and well, thank you very much, Janice. Kim, you were at the meetings. What other stuff have been discussed that are going to be different from Fort Pitt?
Well, there's going to be a lot of overlap. So the Treaty 1 to 11 gathering that they hold yearly in different nations, I kind of see it as more like we have like this shared experience and shared kind of issues that we're trying to deal with. But then, of course, we also have our very specific issues that we're trying to deal with as Treaty 6 people, and then very specific issues that we're trying to deal with as Onion Lake, as a nation. So there's a lot of overlap, but there are also very specific things. Yeah. So when we talk about doing a Treaty 6 gathering, when we're here, we have our local knowledge holders who will be speaking. I think that's a big difference.
Maybe to kind of expand on and reflect on the discussions at the treaties 1 to 11, they talked about also creating a status card, like a treaty card, and that they did a presentation on that one. And as well, they were thinking about from treaties to 1 to 11, they're reflecting on looking into creating an app, so that way updates and everything like that on the work and the progress that they're doing, it'll also be there. And also they had discussions about what Janice talked about, the NRTA and the vision on where they want to go and what's set into motion, into kind of looking into the revenue streaming with NRTA, where we always have the short end of the stick in that area. So hopefully that introduces something a concept where we're working together and creating something for NRTA and to try and move forward into a litigation process in that area. So there was also a lot of they also talked about membership. Maybe I'll get Clint to talk about that one in regards to membership.
Membership has always been something that's been at the forefront. And you mentioned status cards, and how the status cards were different before they were treaty cards. So I imagine that was some very interesting conversations that were taking place at that meeting. Clinton?
Hi. Yeah, so as far as membership goes, the discussion, like you said, about the treaty cards versus the status cards. So with the treaty card, it established our treaty rights, and it would list the inherent rights that we had prior to treaty signing. So I think we want to revert back to that that process, and that was one of the presentations that we saw at treaties 1 to 11.
Yeah.
So the takeaway from that was very good and inspiring. So I think that's the direction that Onion Lake kind of wants to move towards, because we are beginning developing the membership department here at Treaty Governance. So that's a big aspect that we want to focus on.
I want to add to that a little bit. So, in terms of membership, I really want to stress the importance that we have to see it as we have the ability to, we have the right, the inherent right to decide who belongs to us and who doesn't. And for Canada to come in and continually make these laws from the beginning, from the Indian Act, to make these laws about who belongs to us. And we're trying to fight against that. So doing the treaty cards, talking about membership at the treaties 1 to 11 level and then at our level, that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
And also wanted to speak a little bit about the NRTA. So for viewers who aren't familiar, the NRTA is a Natural Resources Transfer Act. I think it was an act that Canada put in, was it the 1920s? 1930s. So what it did was it gave control of the natural resources that came from the land to the provinces, and they did that without our consultation. And it was during a time when our people couldn't take this to court. We had no voice at that time. No one would listen to us. So now we're trying to deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Natural Resource Transfer Agreement. Just for our Cree listeners too as well. Experience 1930 te tapskuts mana kiskataha te na pumina pimigap moten gate exisa expi mamaskam provinces ni mamia tsegwa wio te tapsa sunya gatagek so mekwam mat mamam skutsigate expio te Fort Pitt Mamopige. And so let's just move along. Is there anything else that we can add to this topic while we're talking about treaties 1 through 11?
And just one last thing to kind of highlight and bring forward is you talked about, or you asked the question about what is the difference between the treaties 1 to 11 or the numbered treaties in relation to Treaty 6 and the Treaty 6 gathering.
Mm-hmm.
And without getting into like a long explanation, but to provide some background treaty context to the conversation, I think it's important for folks to know that the treaties that were entered into with the Crown of Great Britain and Ireland, starting from the numbered 1 treaty to the 11 treaty, there were certain things put into each numbered treaty that may have been specific to that treaty area. And I think the difference that Treaty 6 has in relation to all the other treaties are things like the medicine chest and things like, being able to have specific items put into the treaty that our ancestors negotiated specifically using our own laws and ceremonies to have the knowledge and foresight to know that in the future, in like 100 or 200 years, we'd need these certain items put into the treaty so that our people could survive, and we would evolve into knowing that those things that were put in 150 years ago would help us today.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you think about just like the medicine chest, for example, at the time, the medicine chest symbolized universal health care. And so that evolves over time to be able to have what we have today in terms of innovative new technologies that help people with their health, and new drugs that can help people live and survive and live a longer life. So that's one, I would say, difference that Treaty 6 has specifically that some of the other treaty areas don't, but they benefit from that being in our treaty, and we can all benefit from that.
All the other treaties 1, 2, 3, 4, all the treaties up to 11 benefit on the medicine chest.
That's right.
Because that was specific to Treaty 6.
Yep, Absolutely.
Are there any other, aside from the medicine chest, are there any other positives that come from Treaty 6 in terms of differences between the other treaties? I think social development or something like that was one of them too as well.
Well, I think something that is in the other numbered treaties, but that kind of might be more important to
Mhm.
us just based on our location and where we live would be the cows and plows and what that actually means. So because we're in an area where agriculture is so
Yep.
important, that clause would probably mean a little bit more to us than areas where there's not so much
Yes.
agriculture.
Gwa, when you they got my mom's school to mark. Yeah, it's I and again I'm thankful for the viewers that we have. We do see a few that have joined us in the studio too as well. Not in the studio, but outside of the studio. Thank you very much for joining us. Again, we're talking about the Treaty 6 Fort Pitt gathering that's going to be taking place. Ma'am Skutsigate, vendors, in terms of differences from previous years, who wants to tackle this one? What kind of differences are we going to see with the meeting that's going to be taking place?
So, like Janice mentioned earlier, we are going to have vendors this year. This
Mhm.
is kind of something new that we're bringing in just to start, just to kind of give it a feel, see how it goes. And we can probably roll that into next year and oncoming years as we go along, depending on how it goes. But it's just to make it more enjoyable, to bring more people in so that it's a gathering where people can do different activities. And Janice also mentioned the teepee talks that we're going to be having. So different teepees set up where they're talking about different cultural teachings.
Mhm.
So I think some of the ones that we are planning on getting are like dry meat making and the teachings that go behind that. So really hands-on activities, and then the teachings, the traditional teachings and values that go behind those hands-on activities. So we're getting people in who are really knowledgeable in these specific areas. So
Those teepees that you mentioned, those are going to be happening just as the meeting is going on too as well, or are these more like evening afternoon breaks?
as the meetings are going on. So
Okay.
I know it's really difficult. It's difficult for me to sit in a chair for 8 hours.
Mhm.
So I can imagine like people want to get up, they want to move around, they want to go do different things, and it would keep people engaged so that if they need a little break, they're not sitting in their car on their phone. You know, they have
Yeah.
something else to go and learn.
That sounds very what I was thinking of is a lot of our elders travel with their chitums and their sons, their daughters, and they bring the family along, and that'd be a good way to keep them entertained too as well. So that's good. And well, let's move along. Let's move along to the Treaty Governance Department. What does the Treaty Governance Department do on the day-to-day basis? Leon, I think this might be a question specific for you.
Just on a day-to-day basis, we do get extremely busy. We look at our emails, streamline on the activities with other technicians as well, like on the work, the due diligence that's needed in our office,
Mhm.
and just simply maintaining our work, our staff, our employees, making sure that some of the things that we do is also one of the priorities. So working with leadership as well, communicating with them, and making a general understanding on what is and what is not, like with all these bills that are coming up. And we try and strategize the best way we can with Janice and Kim and Clint, especially with the ongoing stuff that's coming up. Like I know we had to delay a few things right now with the convention law and election law because due to an early election. So, but after right now, like with working with the treaty gathering and everything else, and then trying to set up to formulate our work plan in regards to what the activities that we still need to do. Like there's a lot of laws that we need to amend. So, and we are in reviewing process, and also bylaws that need to be actually formatted back into a Word document. And those are things that we're working on too in the office right now, because some of these bylaws are real old. Like I
Mhm.
think there's one back in the 70s or 80s. And so we're working on that document right now to make it format into Word document, not changing nothing, but just kind of making it into a format and upgrade the look on these bylaws as well. So there's a lot of work. I know, right now we're kind of like who we got here is the staff that we got, but we are actually opening up positions in other areas and other fields as well
Mhm.
to help us do with the work. And I know there's a lot of work that we do in the office, with especially with treaty inherent rights, and also we need to keep moving on and helping out our nation and other nations as well into the work and the progress that we do here at our office in regarding to treaty law development, like or developing our laws, and also assisting them in how to do a treaty-based funding agreement. And that's
Mhm.
one of the things that I know we've been working on for quite some time. Treaty-based funding. I know health is one of the leads on in that progress. Also education, and hopefully ICFS with their child law will be formatting into that area eventually. And that's a lot. And just treaty-based funding is a lot of work itself, and that model that we're trying to continue to proceed into trying to get a good funding arrangement for
Mhm.
our nations is something that we want, because there's so many things that have been taken out of our on treaty to health.
Yep.
And we try and reestablish that, like why are they taken when they're given right to us, right,
Mhm.
under treaty. So I guess if I miss anything, maybe Janice and Kim can reflect on anything that I missed when what our office does. But if, I know a lot of people want to know what we do, so now you know that what we do, and it's just trying to benefit to protect our treaty inherent rights for our nation.
Mhm.
That's it. Hi.
Thank you, Leon. Egwinu aga mamam skuta Leon anuts poka mam skuta mo ma utatoskeo nuwa utan sa sito squat siguni gani wa egwini guys hui wa kiko ma kiko gap ma atoskata mi pogo wisto aha at mito etsik convention law mam skuta mo ge ma atoskata ge kiap its amendments sa tegit ngagisi tsigatek maka kiap its pogo to mana kigoy o magigoy kap na note pa kigoy tamas na gani pagkatapos sa sugasta so amendments yep it's the processes still need to continue election law mam skutam leon oa ego mina yep it's tapmato skat sigatek magaya patama egonik the nastawa go maya they'll put him aside for a little bit ego totse ego taya kisa pata I guess I mean once the elections are done I imagine both the convention law and the election laws and any other laws that need amending, those process will get rolling once again. Mamskutam Leon, the health department and treaty based funding gap. It's minegwinik matuskatsigatewa. I think that's Carla Bird that is still the lead tech there for that program. So it's one of these days we'll have that as a program here at the Seventh Generation Podcast Studio. So that'll be a topic for future. And Kiwatewak Nuangiskison. I know Leon's a Cree speaker too as well. So on the fly, I'm trying to remember what you had talked about and trying to at least give a brief summary in Cree as to what's being said here at this podcast too as well. So I'm trying that out too as well. Janice, you look like you're ready to say something. What's on your mind right now?
I'm going to let Kim talk first, and then I'll add after she says something.
Okay.
So I just wanted to expand a little bit on what Leon's talking about. So one of the words that he uses is watchdog. So we serve as a watchdog for the nation and for other treaty nations as well. So when there's something coming down the pipe from either the federal, provincial government, some sort of law that impacts us,
Mhm.
we analyze that law. We find what exactly they're overstepping, if it's overstepping into our jurisdiction or our treaty rights. And we raise the alarm. So we let leadership know, we let other leaderships know, we let the people know, we let the elders know. just so that people are aware that this is happening. One recent example is the Bill C5 that the federal government passed, and that's going to be talked about at our treaty gathering, all of the issues with that. Um, and yeah, and so when we talk about their laws being imposed on us, that's why it's so important for us to have our own laws, which is why we also do the work of law development and law amendments to strengthen our laws. Because in the absence of our laws, we kind of have no choice but to follow their laws.
Yeah.
So we have the inherent right to be able to make our own laws, and the Canadian government knows that there's nothing they can do about it. We get to decide how we arrange ourselves as a nation.
And that goes back to some of the stuff that the elders have talked about, and technicians too, as well. Where if there's not a law in place, well, we'll give you one. That's the attitude that they have. And Janice,
Yeah, I think the only thing that I would add to what my colleagues Kim and Leon have already said is at a very high level, we do treaty protection and treaty advocacy and analysis. We do law development for the nation. We also have treaty alliances with other nations that want to align and feel aligned with similar positions, because the challenge we face right now is that we have organizations that are overstepping their role and taking on the work of nations and making decisions on our behalf that put us in positions and situations that compromise our treaty and our jurisdiction and inherent rights. And that's why we're in some of the situations we're in, that, there's some nations that may agree with certain Canadian and federal, or Canadian and provincial laws, and we don't. And so we're always having to be the watchdog to protect ourselves. But I also want to say that our office works with all the other departments and with leadership and senior management to be the treaty lens and the perspective through which the departments look at or view certain policies, laws that are coming in. But we also provide that treaty lens to ensure that we're not compromising the nation's position on treaty, and ensuring that we're always moving along this treaty path, which at the end of the day is based and informed on the spirit and intent that is found in our original laws, which is connected to the pipe and the ceremonies and the teachings that we have, which you all know in this room and space that many of those are unwritten, and they're held within the families, the knowledge bundles that certain families within the community have. But it's our responsibility to ensure that we continue to practice that way of life, which is what the treaty confirmed for our ability to do that.
Thank you very much, Janice. And when you look up Mamamskuta, I mean, other organizations, Mamskuta, like AFN, FSIN, and I know that Onion Lake is no longer a part of those organizations. For the most part, for AFN, definitely, but the FSIN, I think there's still some sort of a soft connection there, and I use that loosely. But yeah, when you go get organizations, school, kigo magapamuya swata gegegute, kisno takipun papagamskago no utsegos ksusaga igani so ego mapega got mamamskuta nuts Janice. And just looking at some of the comments that have been asked online too as well, when is the next band meeting? I would assume that a band meeting wouldn't happen until after the next election. So that's after November. So maybe early January, maybe, or something like that. And Clayton, we sta mamskutam. The pipe should be sitting in the middle of the room. And mo yak maga how yak we in terms of elders and eldership and stuff like that. We're not doing that on purpose, but we do in terms of keeping the cultural and the aspect part of what you're saying there. When treaty was spoken about, the pipe was there because you can't lie. You can't lie. Clayton, we do just we can't focus on it, but there's a pan in front of us with sweetgrass that had been used prior to this podcast. So let's continue on with some of the other questions that we had prepared. And again, we just finished talking about we just talked about treaty governance and the office and the work that you guys are doing. Have we not? Is there anything else that we can talk about in terms of the work that you are doing right now? We talked about the laws, bylaws. What else does your office do? I realize too that you guys have moved. You guys had moved to a different location, Leon, or you wanna mention that? Where have you guys moved to? Where did they move you guys?
We moved by SA area. There's a new building that we're in already. We're sharing it with Justice as well as a treaty law office. So our new location is kind of trying to get used to that area right now. So it's kind of like unceded territory for me right now. But hopefully, like we'll get some flags going up and all that, and they'll get it all situated in the front. But we still got to do some minor work and repairs on the outside and cutting and all that. So we're slowly getting comfortable, but still a lot of work to do there. And by the way, we don't have no phone line. There's no phone lines there until next year. SaskTel has told us, gave us a green light. It won't be done till next year. But however, we do have maybe a treaty law office number. We have a cell phone number right now to kind of accommodate that. And also Justice has a cell phone too right now. So right now our secretary is working 2 phones right now as we speak with that one. So I guess that's where it's set up right now. So we'll be on a cell phone basis right now until our lines are set up over there too, as well at the office, at the new office in there. And so, and also a lot of people ask about the new round hall. I'm still waiting on that one too until I get a confirmation so we can start doing bookings as well for that new round hall. Old round hall is always readily available right now, but sometimes that priorities feasts and stuff like that with that one. So right now, if you need bookings, just contact our treaty law office, or one of us will relay the message if you can contact us too in that area. Except
I was thinking about while we're talking about the treaty governance department, Leon, and while you have the microphone, what's to me na every month mana kap pipe ceremony kap maya kya pitsuto ego map mais payo.
yeah, we do that every month. And next Tuesday, September 2nd, we'll have our pipe ceremony. I know after that it's going to be busy, like a busy week from there on. Like we're getting ready for the treaty gathering, and also there's an elders gathering as well on I believe it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So there's a lot of I know everybody's going to be busy. I know there's some teachings that we want to go listen in on too as well. So right now we're doing preparations. I know Janice was kind of getting worried about some of the stuff that we're doing, but we're actually getting it all done right now. And we got some good speakers that will be coming up to the treaty gathering as well. Like I know we invited Jimmy Ochis, Eric Tatusis on the first day on the Elders Forum. So that's going to be a lot of good talk with the Gete Pixqueta Uyokta. So there's going to be a lot of good informational words as well from these elders that are coming.
Yeah. What kind of other projects or initiatives is your department currently working on beyond this gathering? That I know we kind of touched on it on some of the meetings that have been taking place, but
I'll start, and then Kim, Clint, or Leon can add if I forgot or there's some oversight there. So the priority, I think, for this year was to focus on amendments to certain laws and to develop new laws. So just want to speak briefly on that. Amendments to the convention law, the election law, and then the development of a ethics commission, also amendments to the citizenship law. And there's talk right now about the development of maybe a community safety or protection law, because there's challenges that we're experiencing in relation to the RCMP not enforcing or implementing our bylaws,
Bylaws.
or our BCRs and the bylaws. And what they've told us is those need to be in bylaw form, submitted to the First Nation Gazette in order for the RCMP to implement or enforce them.
Hmm.
Which I like, which as an aside, I think is a little bit ridiculous, but it is what it is. So there's that law development amendment piece, but there's also like the need to update and work on the Elders Council terms of reference, and really bringing the elders back into focus, because we haven't had an elders body, advisory body, for some time. And our office oversees the elders body
Mhm.
that is attached to the laws and their role in implementing or doing certain things within our laws. So there's that. We're also in conversations around a community safety plan, which is more the justice side of the department. There's also discussions around a Cree Indigenous court, which is again tied to law development around what is the name? It would be like a tribunal of some sort that would be like the enforcement piece.
Mhm.
So there's all these things that we have to do. And you can see there's only 4 of us in this room. And what we've come to learn, know, and realize is that other nations that do this type of work, they have like 10 people that
Yep.
do this. And we are doing this like, sometimes there's 2 of us working on something. Sometimes there's 4 of us working, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we are like a well-oiled machine that does the work of 10 people.
Mhm.
And I want to recognize and commend my colleagues in the room here for their commitment and dedication to the vision, the mission of treaty protection, treaty advocacy, and law development, because without them, we wouldn't be doing the things that we do. And I just want to, give them a shout out and recognize all their hard work
Mhm.
in doing this, because it is a lot of work,
Oh, yeah.
as you know. I can't remember. I don't know if I forgot anything. I'm sure I did, but I'll defer to Kim, Leon, or Clint to add to that.
No, I think that was good. I want to touch a little bit about this amalgamation that we have going with justice. So that was a big part of our focus for the past year, I would say, was talking about how we're going to work together, because we are in this new building together,
Mhm.
and we do have some overlap in what we do, especially when it comes to laws. So the way we're kind of like visualizing it is it's the law office for Onion Lake. So we have pieces about law development, we have law enforcement, and then we have like developing that court system, like Janice said. So that would be law, I don't know the word, adjudication maybe, or yeah. So it's kind of like 3 main parts that go into laws and the whole vision of what laws are. Um, and then when you ask about like what else we're working on, so one of the things that we want to do is get so we have filing cabinets and files of historical documents. Some of them even go back to the 1800s, and they're really important. It has things in there about what our elders have said in the past. It has like letters between past leadership and government. So it's talking back and forth and all of the things that have to do with our nation. And we want to try somehow to get those digitized, to get them protected so that we don't ever lose any of that. So that's one thing that we're kind of looking for in the future, is working on getting those, kind of like an archive.
Mhm.
I'll
It-
add a little something too, just to reiterate what everybody's been talking about when we're discussing treaties and our inherent rights as the treaty holders. So one of our fundamental driving forces in doing the work that we do is the pre-existing rights that we had. as First Nations people, our inherent rights and one of our fundamental driving forces is the spiritual component. You know, that's what ignites us as a people, and it gives that spirit and intent to do this work and the importance of it. So to add on upcoming projects as well, my coworker Kim and I just wrote a project about revitalizing Two-Spirit identity in communities. So I'm excited about that. We just got our confirmed funding for that. So
Nice.
that's another project that will be up and coming. And yeah, so when we talk about the spirit and intent, we want to reignite that identity in our Two-Spirit members as well.
So megwats eguni ho tanut skap mam skut sigate ke mam skut tamok kigwa gap sip ma to skata ethics commission mam skut tamok kino isi se gwa ma se ma to skat sigateo and yeah, it's me na elders council mam skut ma wage with in terms of reference with to pugase mi negwa ma to skata mi and I do know right now that there is no elders council at the moment, an advisory council. So that will have to be worked on at some point after the election and stuff like that. Indigenous court mam skutam Janice mina notes ego mina gap zip magawa tamimu at ni ganek setakwe iswepinge skatena no mita top in sasqua si how eka gap maito tet moigo esegote pero ne mo we swatigo yamana msipitos kiano ego maya we so ones ngagino apatama Kim anuts mam skutam Atsumu na gunu te petsna we gi we kete ka gi pe to skata gi kapumi no ni gani wak petsna we archives siga teoma ne gotanse gi pe taswe e gunu mas nega na mine gapse maya tsige gote at the treaty governance office maka mas nega na e gotwa e we magawata mi taptsigaste paita puta masampaita gi we kusisa gwa mamata optitsigani tapm kagnate sigatege an archive system giwe kusisa tapm osita egay tawanita ya eguni ho pets now itanse egipe ay taswata miki gwe so nanaskamo with the skill no pits and just to go back to some of the comments that have been left while we were talking. Kiandra, thank you very much for the support that you have for treaty governance. Let's, Leon, was there anything else that you could add on to our previous convo?
Just to
Projects and initiatives.
Yeah. I guess the concept of law development is probably one of the concerns, a misunderstanding maybe. But when we talk about law development, we talk about I know there's a lot of oral teachings from elders and the vision that has never been written, and some of the concept of back when we before signing treaties, we had we have our natural laws. So I guess reflecting upon law development, it's not just our office that writes. We get this vision from our membership and from our leadership as well to entice a document that fits the needs of the community. And I know I seen Clayton's comment about making laws and stuff like that. No, it's not about Western. It's about Onion Lake. Like we focus on the work and the diligence that we do here in our office, and we reflect upon it and asking membership on what needs to be done, and their input is always valuable. It's important because it's our nation that we're trying to form into making our own laws and justifying them and how we live as a sovereign nation. I think it's just kind of reflection of protecting ourselves from the governments, from the federal and provincial government. And once we have all these laws and develop, we have a bunch of laws already developed, also our financial law and stuff like that. So to reflect on a treaty-based funding arrangement and stuff like that. So I guess it's always important to communicate with our membership the best way we can. I know sometimes when you have meetings and people don't show up, I think it's kind of important to try for membership to kind of show up in our meetings and here when we do our readings and stuff like that, and engagement sessions with all these laws. It's important to kind of look at the foundation that what we're trying to set for our nation, for a better for our future of our children,
Mhm.
and we're trying to protect and preserve whatever we do in the work that we do here. So I guess I just wanted to kind of bring that up for a bit. And I know we're still doing a lot of work, and we're still going to keep proceeding. I know sometimes times get rough, but we certainly try and be positive and keep moving along and on the work that we do. Thanks.
Mhm. And I hear you when you talk about the amount of work that goes into these laws and the development from the technicians, from the community, the elders, the community, and then the engagement sessions that we have, the many engagement sessions. And sometimes I know as a previous director for treaty governance, it was kind of disheartening sometimes when we didn't have very many people attend those meetings. But having said that, we are practicing and trying new ways to get people involved. And by that, I mean, well, I take this podcast, for example. Not only is it for Onion Lake Cree Nation, but it's also for other community members too, as well, from other nations. So, Miasun Eko, that takes us to our our talk with the community too, as well now, and the community's involvement. How can community members get involved or participate in the gathering or any other related events for that matter?
Who wants to take this? Me? So, one way to get involved is to come to the gathering, come to the engagement sessions when we host them. This is not something that we're trying to impose on anybody. We're trying to get a sense of what the community's needs are, and we can't do that if people aren't telling us what they need. So we try to capture that as best as we can and come up with something that works for as many people as possible. As far as the gathering, getting involved, we are going to be looking for some Oskapisak, I think, Leon,
Mhm.
to help with that. They're good.
Donations.
Sorry.
The donations.
Yes, right. So we are looking for donations, monetary, or maybe bring a sorry. Yeah, food items, something for the door prizes. Yeah, so we're looking for that. I will say that one of the ways that I personally have been able to learn about this work was I started doing this in a helper role, and I feel like that's a really, really good way
Mhm.
to learn about these issues. So I started as a receptionist at Treaty Governance, and I thought it would be a good way to learn, and it did. So just going to these meetings, taking notes, it started to really sink in and to help me fully understand what this is all about. So I say just come to as many of these things as you can. Take on a helper role if you can. It's a good way to learn. Another way that people can get involved, and one of the things that we're looking at doing in the future, is we understand that I can't remember what the exact statistics are, but a huge chunk of our population is under the age of 40, and I know that the way that we choose to engage as younger generations is we choose to engage with the world online.
Mhm.
And so maybe one way that we can do that is to meet people where they are. So bring this information online, which is what we're trying to do here with the podcast. We are also looking at getting this website going, kind of where just band members would be able to sign up, but we would be able to share information and engage with the community that way, have live streams where people can talk to us directly, we can have surveys, all that kind of thing. Anybody else?
Katak?
No, I just want to reinforce what Kim had said when we're talking about developing laws. It's not too late. Laws can be amended. So your participation is vital to our development and our work that we do. So like we said, engagements are very important. We're trying to meet you halfway with technology, but also being in person and attending these meetings, you become inspired. And when you're inspired, things flow much better.
Mm-hmm.
Hi. Thank you very much. And Mr. Hilma, there's a lot that could be discussed when we sit with treaty governance and the amount of work that goes on. And I know Janice had mentioned there are other nations where they have their governance departments with 10, 20 people involved in their daily work and stuff like that. And I'm sure you're not the only ones working there, but it just goes to show that there is a lot of work that you guys do within the department, and I thank you for that. Kinanaskum tinawa. And just to go back to some of the comments that have been made online, Davis, thank you very much for your comments too as well. Yes, well, and I think Kim had mentioned that that's why we're trying to come up with different ways to pass the information along to our community members and those with treaty who have questions about treaty too as well. So Miasunego, thank you very much for your comment. Ron, it's about strategy to engagement. For example, band meetings our Indian Act. Yes, Tapwegwa Magipim Tapuan. So thank you very much for your comments too as well. And being involved, being engaged with these discussions. Kiwa Iwak, is there anything else that we can talk about? Is there anything in particular that is going through those minds of yours right now? Just to stray off the questions for a bit, Janice.
Yeah, I think I want people who are listening and who will eventually watch or listen to this podcast to know that we're in critical times right now in terms of government threat to terminate our inherent and treaty rights. And in fact, the government is planning to repeal the Indian Act in the next year. And I know people may think or say, well, that's a good thing because it's a racist, colonial, discriminatory piece of law that has kept us oppressed for over 150 years. And yes, that's right. However, when you like from a critical legal thinking perspective and somebody that's been trained in both Canadian law and Cree laws by elders and looking at that, are we prepared for what we have to ask ourselves when that happens? Are we prepared for what that means? Meaning our lands are in the Indian Act.
Yep.
They're captured and held hostage in the Indian Act. Our existing leadership and governance structures are in the Indian Act. Our tie to an access to certain rights, I use that in quotes, through being a status Indian are tied into that. So unless those of us in this room have been born before 1951, we're all status Indians. And I know when I applied to go to school, my benefit to have my education supported is a result of that. And also being able to access some parts of healthcare, even though we say it's a treaty right to health through the medicine chest, the practical implementation and application of that is I access my NIHB benefits because I have a status card. And there's certain things. So when we say, are we prepared for when this happens? And I think that's why our office feels this huge sense of, I want to say, urgency to inform people. And this is why the gathering is really important, because we're going to be bringing in speakers that can speak to this, but also solutions to this. And that's why I think we have been working so hard on developing laws, because in the absence of our own laws, federal and provincial laws apply. That's just the reality of how this works. And we need to be prepared to expedite some of these things. And I think this is why we feel this urgency to get moving on citizenship, land, to have our own policing in place, because we want to be in control of our own sovereignty and the exercise of what that means for Onion Lake as a nation. And so I want to highlight I don't mean to share this in a way to scare people, but I want to highlight the urgency of the reality of the situation we're in terms of what federal and provincial governments are doing within their power to do everything to terminate us through their laws, policies, and processes. But we also have to be prepared to respond to that and put a strategy in place.
Mhm.
And we've been having these conversations for a couple years now to ensure that we do have a strategy in place. And we do. And that's what we've been working towards.
Mhm. Anybody else want to add to that?
I'll just add a little bit, just a little bit about the treaty gathering that we're coming up here in Fort Pitt. So we currently invite membership, non-band members, to come and focus and come and learn and understand. We do have a lot of good, like Janice said, some good speakers there, especially we'll be having our ceremonies on a Sunday the 7th and the elders forum on the 8th. And there's also a lot of other speakers that will be talking about some of the situations that we're in. Also, we have a chiefs panel as well that will be there discussing some other issues as well. So if you want to listen in, come on into the gathering. We openly invite you. I know we're trying to do it a little bit different because we're trying to get prepared for next year's big
Mhm.
150th. So that's going to be one of the important ones too that we're working on too as well. So so pretty much I think that's pretty much all I have to say is and have a good afternoon.
Yeah, in terms of speakers and the Fort Pitt gathering that's going to be coming up 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. Who has already confirmed that they will attend the gathering? A spin this morning when I was on the radio, I was talking about what's her name again? The old lady there that just got honored in
Regina Crowchild?
Satina. Yeah, Regina. She's going to be around, and her knowledge is going to be here in the Cree Nation too.
Yes.
Yep.
Regina will be speaking both on September 8th and September 9th. Yep.
That's right on.
And we got Eric Tatusas and Jimmy O'Chase on the 8th.
Eric
with the
Tatusas,
elders, yeah. So
Jimmy O'Cheese.
We also have Regina's daughter, Jeannie, who's going to be doing a presentation on membership and what me and Clint were talking about earlier, the
Mhm.
issues around membership and Canadian law and how that affects us in our membership. We also have a restorative justice panel. So some of our ladies from the Justice Department are going to be presenting, as well as Wyoming Dion. If Janice, I don't know if you want to speak a little bit more on what she does.
Yeah, Wyoming Dion is from the University of Blue Quills, and she's the Dean of Social Work, and she's done a lot of work research around restorative justice that is based in Cree principles of restoring harm. And she was also a coordinator for the Healing to Wellness Court that's in the St. Paul area, because we wanted to bring together speakers. We all have conflicts, whether it's in our family, with our siblings, with our parents, within the community, but we also have ways of resolving those conflicts in a good way.
Mhm.
And that is based in Cree laws, values of how we restore the harm that may have been caused. And so that's some of the work that we do on the justice side. And we wanted to bring together people because this also ties into some of this conversation around community safety and protection with respect to outside kind of influences coming into a nation that cause disruption. And so without getting into detail, that could be things like drugs and gangs and
Mhm.
violence, right? So we need to find ways to deal with those issues in a good way that is reflective of using our own laws, values, and processes. And that's what that panel will be talking about, because that also speaks to exercising sovereignty, nationhood, and self-determination based in our own worldview and perspective.
Mhm.
So that's what that panel. And then we have Doreen Cardinal Summers, who is the advisor for Sturgeon Lake, to talk about Bill C-5 and the specific claims. She used to be the former CEO for Mixu, and at the time they had undergone cows and plows and they have that settled. So she's aware of like these internal processes and challenges that existed and that happened when they underwent that settlement process, because we want to provide information to people about all of the pros and cons about these processes, so that at the end of the day, people are fully informed when they go and make a decision about something. They have all the appropriate information before them to make an informed decision. And that speaks to this concept of free, prior, and informed consent. So, and then we have Ron going to speak about like some of the international processes and avenues of advocacy. And we've also invited Brad Michael, who's a lawyer, who's been doing a lot of work on the Natural Resource Transfer Act to develop a strategy both politically, legally, and communications wise to manage or deal with the issue of this NRTA that has been going on for decades. And so we're at this precipice of critical time in our, I think, our history, where we have Alberta, Saskatchewan passing laws that claim they're sovereign, and which I think is ridiculous. But we have all these speakers coming together to provide information to people that are going to attend the gathering, and hopefully they walk away with being armed with information to go back to their home fires and share that, and start having these conversations within their families, communities, to develop a plan or strategy of action to counter against these government agendas.
Well, we've come to the end of the session for the first podcast for Treaty Talks. Just another reminder, or from wherever else, whatever place or whatever nation that you are listening in from to as well. These are episodes that are going to continue to talk about treaty and engagement and getting people involved too as well. I know one thing that kind of sticks out is our elders and their knowledge too as well. That's and I'm sure that will be another episode too at some point to get elders to come in and talk about treaty and the understanding of treaty. So there are episodes that are going to be coming up in the near future. So miyasan eko. And in closing, again, we'll start off with you, Kim. Any last words that you would like to remind our listeners of, and also just a quick segue to say see you later.
Yeah, so like you said, this is just the first in a series of Treaty Talks podcasts. So we don't hold all of the treaty knowledge. That's impossible for one person to hold. So we are going to be bringing in other guests. We share what we do know, and that's what I think we bring to the table, and making these connections between the listeners and the knowledge holders. And then one other thing is we are finalizing our agenda for the treaty gathering. So I'll get that out. We'll get that out hopefully by the end of the day or tomorrow. We're just really last minute details that are going into it now. Other than that, just thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for having us. And yeah.
Clint, Kia.
Yeah, no, I just want to say thank you as well for 7th Gen for having us. One of the main objectives of coming here today to speak about treaties and kind of introduce treaty topics. So the series will be called Treaty Talks. There's no schedule, but we have a lineup of knowledge holders that we're excited to come and interview and sit down together. The objective, I guess, would be with these episodes, the outcome to utilize them as a teaching tool and have that online for people to rewatch. And so I'm excited for coming here today.
Thank you. Leon.
In closing, I'm staying on ask someone in Pinto ya. Tamaga Gamuganeo Pixquan. I'm stay at to skill and gets a still always the Paigatona Gamam school to me. Mstay gats agame money stano taya katoskatama etoskata Kweski we ga mam tonita mi ga me mo teni ga gi we twasam sano ka stamagog. Msteta pe atus ko ksewan magnista na ga me monano te ga wistos kem to a kweski we ga mi wasta exam ni ga git ngini teta ko exam mai hai.
Thank you very much, Leon and Janice McCocus.
I just want to thank you, Vern, and the crew here at SevGen in the podcast series for allowing us to be here to have this conversation. I think it's overdue, but we're excited to share with everybody, not just within Onion Lake, the work that we do. And I just want to emphasize that, like, for me, I am not an expert. I may have, experience in doing this for several years, but I don't want to say that I know everything about treaties that there is to know, because I don't. I'm constantly learning, and I will forever learn until for the rest of my life. And that's the beauty of bringing people together, and knowledge holders and people that have been on this journey for a long time, is we get to learn from them. We get to listen to them, and we retain within ourselves and our memories things that they have gone through that we can carry with us to learn from. And so I think that's what I really love and appreciate about the Treaty 6 gathering, is people have an opportunity to come together, elders, people, in a way that's non-hierarchical. And we're all there as treaty people because we care about the treaties. We want to be here forever. We are thinking about our future generations. And I just want to say thank you to everybody that is listening, to you, for the support that you provide to the department for us to do the work that we do, because we can't do this without that support. And it makes our job easier when we have people that help us in a good way and offer positive, constructive feedback so that we can improve what we're doing. And that's, at the end of the day, we're just here to ensure that Onion Lake continues a path of treaty, and that we're thinking about the future generations and acting as a sovereign nation the way that our ancestors did when they entered into treaty.
Well, thank you very much once again, and to our viewers too as well. Thank you for joining us. In closing, Nista, this whole Fort Pitt gathering that's going to be taking place, waskay gani, excitement my siga tegoma, itegawip my tagam ga, nstom matsita tawa, moye one giskis tigo magigwa gets natsmana. One of the main things that we had always tried to focus on is the ceremonial part, and making sure that those ceremonies take place each year on this gathering. That's what our elders have always said, that igunik niganasta igwa kiapits kapma tu temagan will still continue on with treaty, so long as we continue on with the spiritual part and the ceremonies that take part in that too as well. So the 7th is going to have the ceremonies. The sweats will take place there too as well, and then the feast kasama tsagwe sapagagamana maitwe. So thank you very much for our viewers. Wishing everybody a good day, and Creator bless. Hi, hi.